So back to the northern stand side. What a big collision. Higgins and Grimes wins the battle.
Wait, clever, well done. I think he's got it. He has. Wait gets the goal. Goldstein won it. Harvey surges, straightens up, puts them in front. 400 games plus. He's justified signing him on for next year, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, no coach was under more pressure and scrutiny in the week before the first final. Well, Brad Scott sits here triumphant after a big win against the Tigers at the MCG. Welcome to you, Brad.
Thanks, Jared. Thanks, boys.
Thanks for coming in. Obviously, there's still a long way to go, but it was a really tough week for you and the Kangaroos coming in based on you challenging the system, resting players, but you sit here now and you've got a game to win on the weekend.
Yeah, we have, and we're looking forward to the challenge that is the Sydney Swans. Always a tough ask, particularly in a final. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised about your comments then. We didn't feel any more pressure than we felt going into the first final last year. Yeah, clearly we made some decisions that we felt were in the best interest of the football club, and we made those decisions without fear or favour of the outcome.
Well, let me ask you about your back injury. We haven't spoken to you since then. You missed half a dozen rounds. And yet you came back a different person, according to too many of the players, for it not to be true. And even yourself, you've said you almost sat in front of the TV, threw a few oranges at it a few times. Did you have an epiphany? Because something has changed.
I think it's a combination of factors. There isn't any one thing that I can enunciate that I came back and changed. But I think a different perspective is always good. And I certainly had a different perspective watching the game on TV. But if there was one thing that I think I took out of it, it was that I was able to sit back and say, how can we become a side that's capable of consistently challenging the best teams in the game? And I've said before that we'd become too reliant on players like Boomer Harvey, and even though he's still a really good player, you know, we couldn't be successful consistently if we just relied on our stars winning us games.
So was a message to Boomer when you subbed him, or was it a message to the team? I mean, it just is coincidence that Boomer Harvey was arguably BOG yesterday, but you came back and you put him in a green vest. Yeah,
and we'd spoken a lot. It wasn't as if I was completely absent while I was out of the coach's box. I'd spoken a lot, and you know, I love Boomer. You know, he's been absolutely fantastic for me. He's been a stalwart of our football club, but I also love my first child. But sometimes he needs to be disciplined. And Boomer loves tough coaching. So you put him over your knee and you gave him a spank, did you? Yeah, they're about the same size too.
Hey, I want to ask you, Scotty, a lot of people talk about the difference between home and away footy and finals footy. And most people say, oh, there's more pressure in finals. But from a coaching perspective and a game style perspective, do you see differences between the two?
There's definitely differences. I think the pressure definitely goes up. I think the kick to handball ratio probably changes a little bit, and you know, most clubs want to kick the ball to contest more, and that's probably a factor of the opposition putting more pressure on as well.
Yeah, you would have been wrapped when Shawnee Higgins had that big clash earlier on Dylan Grimes. Both players, their attack on the ball was sensational, but it was finals like, and I suppose as a coach you're sitting there hoping that player will commit to the footy.
Yeah, great contest from Grimes. I mean, he had to come forward to impact that contest, and to Sean's credit, you know, he kept going through the line of the footy too, and it's something we've heard a lot, Brownie, over the years, and you know, that's body line the ball and run straight through the line of it, and both players did on that occasion.
Yeah, just saying, I thought you had toughed them all day. And did you have a plan for Alex Rance, for the boys, just to run past, just give him a bump, because he seemed to cop a fair bit of attention all day from any size North player?
No, not specifically for Rance. I think that's just finals footy. You know better than anyone that when you get into the heat of finals, the stakes are high and there's a bit of agitation out there, and I thought both teams did it pretty well.
But Brandy did tell us last week about psychological warfare that you guys took to a new level in Brisbane. You were part of those sides. I'd be staggered if you didn't take some of that back to your coaching.
Oh, no doubt. But I think you've seen Richmond have done that very well throughout the year. I think the Friday night where they beat Hawthorn, I thought they took the physicality to a different level, and you know, our pressure in the second half of the year has been really good, so we were looking to up that in finals.
What about free agency? You've got involved the last couple of seasons. You must be thrilled with the returns of both Jared Waite and Shaun Higgins this year. Nick Del Santo's been a super player for you. How do you arrive at the decision for those players specifically? How did that come about?
Oh, they're probably 12 months in the making in terms of analysing their form, but Look, I'm a believer in looking at what players can do and not what they can't. Clearly we look at working and improving deficiencies, but I think our industry focuses too much on the negative at times. And Dalsando, Waite and Higgins at different stages have been criticised by people, but what they do best is genuinely elite. And I think they've been absolutely fantastic acquisitions.
What about Jared specifically? Do you coach him more than the others in terms of his ability to get forward? He generally gets a third defender, if you like, a third tall defender. It almost becomes your full forward when he gets that perfect matchup.
Yeah, and we've been able to do that to take a bit of the load off Drew Petrie as well. And Drew's in the same category as Boomer, and they've been star players for us, and we've been heavily reliant. So we were looking to spread the load a little bit there. And I've been most pleased with Jared's defensive work this year. He is arguably, and the statistics tell you, he's arguably the best defensive key forward in the game at the moment.
Were you surprised, Scotty, that Rance didn't move on to Waite when it looked like Waite was the hot forward on the ground early on?
Not really. I think he's always played on Petrie. I think since I've been coach at North and we've played Richmond, I think Rance has played on Petrie, so they wanted to keep that, I would have thought.
We spoke off the top about the taggers and the job that Ben Jacobs has been doing, and I don't think any other clubs are actually using them, not the top clubs anyway. Now, there's a story going around that maybe he was at the crossroads, he was given a one-year contract, perhaps needed to be a bit more dedicating his performance to the team rather than chasing the footy. I don't know if that's true, but it's certainly working for it, because some of the scalps that he's notched up and has committed to just shutting down the best midfielders for the opposition, you must be thrilled with him.
Yeah, ecstatic. He's just been absolutely fantastic, and our midfield coaches, Darren Crocker and Lee Tudor, should take a lot of credit along with Ben, for his form. He's always been a prolific ball winner, even as a junior. When he played in the VFL at North Ballarat, getting the footy wasn't a problem for him, but the jobs he's been able to do on the opposition's best midfielders has just been fantastic, and I've always wanted, I like the defensive midfielders. We haven't had anyone who can quite do it to the level Ben's been doing it, so it's
Did you have
a big bonus.
This is your last chance chat with him? Because that's how it appears. No,
we never got to that stage. I think a lot of players, the feedback's so regular now that they know where they're at. But it certainly wasn't crossroads, it wasn't make or break sort of stuff, it was just finding the role that suited him and suited us.
What about Brent Harvey? I want to ask you about him specifically. 31 disposals on the weekend, but his work in the forward 50 stoppages was phenomenal. He took Hunt to a place he didn't really want to be. We'll show one here and just highlight how clever he is around congestion. His work, I thought, was first class in setting up his opponent. You can see here the space out the back. Have a look at that, the teamwork provided by the forward six there to vacate that space, and Dalsando puts on a little block, but Brent's been a marvel in that forward 50 for you.
Yeah, he has. He's I probably remember it when I played. It's just so difficult to counter around those stoppages. The way he moves, the way he reads the ball off hands, he's got genuine speed as well, but he's generally moving before anyone else is, so his ability to that perceptual agility, I call it, to be able to move before anyone else does, because he reads it so well.
How do you cope when you've got legends of North Melbourne, previous legends, premiership players in the media with so much feedback for you, like Wayne Carey and our esteemed co-colleague here in David King?
I think the industry's massive now. So a lot of people are paid well to have opinions. So you don't get paid well if you sit in the media and not have an opinion. So I accept that. But I also take comfort in the fact that I analyse the game really closely. I've got a team of people who help me with that. And we make decisions, as I said before, without fear or favour.
People tend to love the cameras that are on the coaches' boxes because we get to see all the emotion of the coaches. I'm not sure the coaches like them themselves. But what was going through your head? You've got a great sub in Lindsay Thomas, perfect to come on, have an impact, kick some goals. Gets involved in a little incident. I know he's only been fined for it now, but what was going through your head when you saw this unfold?
Well, from the angle that I sit in the coach's box, I couldn't see the foot. I saw the push from Grimes, and clearly the umpire paid 50, so I knew Lindsay had done something, but I couldn't see exactly what he'd done. So, you just put yourself in a really awkward position when you do something silly like that. And he's been pretty good for us over a long period of time, Lindsay, but he let himself down on that occasion.
Now, this big game, obviously, this Saturday night against the Swans, mate, belted by 71 points in the prelim. Just any mental scars, or how do you approach the week in regards to the latest history against the Swans with your players?
Well, yeah, clearly we got pretty badly beaten in that preliminary final. But we played a side that was well rested. Had a week off on their home ground after we'd had 2 really taxing finals. I feel physically we're in a much better space this year. We beat them at the SCG last year as well. So, the recent histories is not as bad as the prelim might suggest. But they're still a formidable opponent. So we're going up there with confidence in our own ability, but massive respect for the opposition.
We're having a great debate amongst ourselves as to who you might send Ben Jacobs to. They've got some quality midfield, the Swans. When do you give him his next assignment? How early in the week?
Probably not till late. He does like a bit of time to prepare, but it'd still be towards the end of the week rather than the start.
And which way are you leaning at the moment?
No, I can honestly say I have no idea. I mean, last week was a great example. I mean, he played on Martin the previous week, did pretty well. Cochin's got off the chain, had it 30 times. So we debated that long and hard. Deledio, I think, is their barometer, and Sydney the same. Hanbury, Kennedy. Does Parker get up and play?
Seems to come back well after being in hospital, Ben Jacobs. He must have had a big, pretty bad turn.
Yeah, he did. Fortunately, it was really early in the week. Did take him a little longer to get better than we thought. But no, I think it just shows the mental capacity that he's got to get up when physically he wasn't perfect, but mentally he's very strong.
Can I ask you about one of your important players? It seems to be a structural player for you, Lockie Hansen. He must frustrate you at times. His good's really good and his bad's really bad. But what's he like to coach? What does he do for you that maybe some of the others don't?
Look, he's...
We got some good and some bad here.
Yeah, no, I think you summarised it really well. You saw the best and the worst.
Don't laugh.
No, I wasn't laughing at the time. But no, he's just an elite mark. I mean, he was pick 3, I think, in the 2007 or 8 draft because he was as good a mark in the country for his age as anyone. And he's an elite runner. I mean, when I first got to the club, I couldn't believe that our top 5 over 3K were all over 6'4". We didn't have a great midfield at that point. Adam Simpson had just retired. But Lockie Hansen, Robbie Tarrant, Nathan Grimer, Todd Goldstein, they're elite endurance runners. So they're 2 strong qualities of Lockie's.
Unfortunately, I've run out of time. There's about 8 other things we want to talk to you about, but hopefully we'll be chatting to you in a couple of weeks' time when the Premiership coach comes in. Well done on the weekend and good luck against the Swans.
Thanks, Sheriff. Thanks, boys.
Brad Scott, our special guest. And after the break, the Eagles well and truly on track for their 4th Premiership, and the fairy tale comes to an end for the Western Bulldogs.